everyone. Thank you for joining us this afternoon. This is Season 2 of Beaver Gardens. We are here at Sunrise Farms, and I have with me this afternoon Marie Razika, hello.
Hello.
And Don Razika.
Hi.
These people are the owners and stewards of the section of land close to Killam. And I would like to thank you for allowing us to come out and see what you've done with your property. This section of land has been nominated by the Association for Life-Wide Living of Alberta as a place that matters in conjunction with the Battle River Lieutenant Governor of Alberta Arts Awards, and has now been shortlisted for the National Trust Award. About 14 years ago, when Don and Marie were on this land, they were doing conventional farming, and they have changed from conventional farming to different ecological practices. What prompted you to change your practices?
Well, it wasn't working financially, and whenever we decided we needed more income, we would look at some native trees, figure, well, we'll clear the trees, productive land, hasn't been farmed before, you won't have to use much fertilizer, profit, or more pasture, wetlands on a year when it was dry, we'd work them up, plant grain. So we did this from, well, we moved here in 1983, and over the next 12 years it seemed like we were doing more and more of that. And we took a course in holistic management in the fall of 1995 and 1996, which taught us the importance of caring for the ecosystem. And ecosystem is very made up of many different parts, and in order for them to function, all those parts have to be working. So they taught us that knowledge, and the rest is kind of history. We came home from the last day of the 8-day course, and we were pretty excited that change was going to happen, and from conventional agriculture we just went 180 the other way and started consulting with various specialists, and they brought their knowledge and their wisdom and passion to our farm and taught us that we can bring this farm back to good health.
That's wonderful. And so I would like you to explain what these holistic changes are. Could you go through some specific changes that you implemented to bring this into an ecologically sound environment, land?
Sure. Well, after taking the holistic management course, we realized that we have to meet some of these people that are going to help us. So in Sedgwick, which is where the county office is, they had a workshop by a couple of riparian specialists, and Alberta Habitat Riparian Management, that's the name of the program, but they call it Cows and Fish, and they go throughout the province teaching landowners like us about how important these riparian areas are. In other words, a riparian area is the green zone around this wetland, and that's where the majority of biodiversity comes from in this province, and only 4% of the land base is riparian in the province of Alberta. And 80% of all fish and wildlife spend all or part of their life cycles in these areas. So when we have migration in the spring, the birds that are coming through, they stop at these areas. They're referred to, I guess, by somebody by 7-Elevens. So they stop in, they fuel up, and move on with their migration. And in the fall, as all these berries and things have grown and ready to be harvested, when they're heading back south, they also stop. So not only is it all these birds beneficial to the land, but also I think one thing that we discovered when we were conventionally farming, the spirit was gone from the land, and when you start recognizing that these birds that you're hearing, the different species that are coming, they give the farmer a bit of a bounce in his step, and that's good. And there's not a lot of money in it, but you know what? It kept us wanting to do what we could do. So we talked with other specialists with regards to managing our pastures better. So today, when you came in our driveway, there was a gate sign, Razika Sunrise Farm. There's a picture of a meadowlark. Well, that meadowlark is on there for a reason. When we took holistic management, we had, under my management, I had overgrazed the pasture to the point where there were no meadowlarks left. So that was 1989 when they disappeared. After taking holistic management, we realized that the native prairie, which is their habitat of choice, they need litter. They need grass that hasn't been grazed in the fall, and when it dies over the winter, it gets crushed down. So what they do is they fly in and they fluff it up and they make a bit of an igloo. And so 11 years later, in 2000, I was doing my chores about 5:45 in the morning, and I heard a meadowlark. And I thought, I'm just imagining things, but no, they kept singing, so they were back. And it had to do with that first catalyst of learning about ecosystems through holistic management. That's what helped us bring the meadowlarks back. And from there, we just kept looking at things. Okay, what needs attention here? And we started planting trees. Well, in 1984, a year after we got here, we started planting trees. But in 2003, through the Kyoto Agreement, the federal government was encouraging landowners to start planting more and more trees to sequester carbon to help mitigate climate change. So we got involved in that, and we really ramped up our tree planting. And so all of a sudden we started learning about ecosystem services. So people say, what are those? Well, those trees are sequestering carbon, they're providing habitat for insects and for birds. This riparian area, it's as the water goes through, it's filtering the water, so that one of our goals is as the water passes from that farm to the next farm, we're hoping it's better because of our management for those downstream. So if those downstream are doing the same thing, then the towns and villages and cities are going to benefit. They won't have to be treating their water with such maybe pervasive chemicals. So it's a win-win-win, and it's really exciting to be a part of that as a community when we can start doing that. So those are just a few of the things to kick it off.
Yes.
This driver just passed a stopped school bus. The question is, why? Was it because he didn't know the law? He got distracted? He decided to take a chance? It doesn't matter. You must always stop for a stopped school bus. Stop in both directions. It's not just the law, it's a child's life. Brought to you by the Child Safety Network and the School Bus Safety Company.
I've benefited from volunteering with Eastlink TV in so many ways. It's easy to decide when you get the industry experience. I think others should volunteer with Eastlink TV because it's a great environment. It's almost like a family, and there's so many opportunities to learn, so many opportunities to grow. Best place to volunteer. I'm saying that honestly.
Join the Eastlink TV team. To become a volunteer, contact us.
I had the pleasure of getting a tour through here this afternoon, and you've done an amazing amount of work for the water system that you've set up here. Can you talk just a little bit about how you set up the water system for when you had cattle on the land, please?
Sure. Well, that was another reason after holistic management we were told that it's a good idea to keep your cattle out of the water. First of all, they drop waste in it, and secondly, the riparian area, if it's in good condition, that's beneficial to you. So we bought a solar pumping system in 1996 and started using that, but it had to be moved from dugout to dugout in each quarter section, drag all the water line. So, and why did we do that? Well, it's keeping the water clean, but also the area around the dugout, if it's fenced off, the grasses grow, the trees and shrubs grow around the dugout, so that pretty soon, innocently, we're providing habitat for dragonflies. So right now we're in a drought. So if you spend some time here observing around the dugouts and also out on the pastures, you'll see lots of dragonflies, and what they're doing, they're eating the larvae from grasshoppers, plus when the grasshoppers hatch, they're eating the grasshoppers. So working with nature, we don't have to use any chemicals, we just let nature work with nature. And so, and I guess I'd like to say right now that nature is a most important partnership we have for this farm. So where do we go from there? Well, we're starting to think in 2015, we can't be here forever. Our kids aren't interested in coming back. They're happy with what they're doing. So Marie said, "Do you really think the next person is going to want to move the water lines and all that pump to the next dugout?" And no, probably not. So we put in a watering system. There's a 10,000 gallon tank on a hill here, the highest point on the farm. We put in 27,000 lineal feet of water line, and there's valves every 200 feet. And down here, there's solar panels that power a solar pump. We're pumping water to an elevation of 70 feet to the top of that tank, and it holds 10,000 gallons. And so now we still have those 5 dugouts that are fenced, but nobody's drinking from them. We're getting the water out of this wetland. However, in 2002, we had a very serious drought, and this wetland was completely dry. So if that should happen again, we go through about 350, maybe 400,000 gallons a year with our livestock. Our dugouts, each of those 5 dugouts, have about 750 to a million gallons. So I can move that whole system on that trailer up to any dugout, and we've got water, even though this is dry. So we're trying to build in resilience and security so that water is so important. I mean, there's been rumors going out for years that there's going to be wars over water. So those lights went on, and we're thinking, okay, the honeymoon's almost over for us here, but there's somebody else. And there's young farmers that are going to farm this, and we want it to be the same as if we were going to pass it on to our kids, only it's going to be somebody else's kids.
What a nice legacy. You've had several specialists come out to your farm here to help you with this, and one of them has been Dr. Glenn Havinegard, who's a professor at Augustana campus, and he's been doing some bird counts on your property. Can you talk to us about that? Apparently they started around 2004.
Yes, in 2004, Glenn found through visual and through hearing, in a 10-minute period of time, over 9 different areas on the farm, there were 40 species here. So he's been doing that every spring, every June, since 2004 up until last year, 2018, and he's doing another one this spring. So if you add all the species over those years, we're now at 99 species, which is an increase of 150%. So we're really proud of that, and nobody knows, Marie knows more about that than me, because she goes for walks sometimes twice a day, and she comes back and she does all the talking because she's saying she saw this and this and this, and I love hearing that.
Oh, Marie, could you please tell us about your walks and what you've noticed over the years with the birds and
all the increase in birds through my walks is that I much rather walk out here in the fields and the pasture than walk on the road, simply because there's so much around here for the birds to be attracted to. And just the other day I walked up to the top of the hill where the water tank is, and I was just sitting there looking out over the vast expanse of prairie below me, and I heard this Peter, 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 and I looked around, and here was a Baltimore oriole flying off the top of the water tank. So I thought, well, I'll just turn myself around and see if they'll come back, and sure enough, the pair came back, and the male perched on one of the guy lines holding the water line up, and of course I was all excited to come home or go home and let Dawn know that I saw a pair of Baltimore orioles, and I watched them for a while. They come flying back and forth, and then they disappeared into the bush. So anyway, that's it's pretty exciting, and I see the bluebirds flying into their boxes, and the swallows swooping around when I get too near their nests, and it just makes for a very enjoyable walk and time. I find it's very calming to my spirit.
So you were talking about the orioles a little earlier. Can you tell us about what you did to attract them?
Oh, when we first had Baltimore orioles, I noticed them in the yard when the trees were just starting to leaf out. Of course, they have a very beautiful orange plumage, and they were perched up in the tree quite a ways up above the house, and I wanted to get them closer, so I looked them up in the Birds of Alberta book, and it said, if you cut slices of orange and hang them in the low branches of the tree, it will attract the Baltimore orioles. And yes, it does. So I've got a number of pictures in my album online that show the orioles eating the orange out of the sections that I hung on the tree.
Oh, that's so wonderful. Dawn has talked a bit about you're the picture taker. You've got many pictures you can share with people.
Well, I'm not a professional photographer. I just like to take pictures because I find the memory of that moment is easy to go back to when you have a record of it. So A lot of times I would take a camera with me and I came back with about 60 pictures and even short videos. One time I videoed our dog chasing the beavers in the water here, and the beavers flopping down and trying to hide from the dog. And there's just so much that can be captured on camera that makes for good memories.
So I looked at the statistics that Dr. Vinegard has kept on your property, and with the Battle River Lieutenant Governor Arts Awards, this is the year of the grouse. And when I looked over the statistics, you've had 2 sightings of a grouse, and it was a rough grouse. One was in 2006 and one is 2012. Can you talk about any experiences you've had with the grouse, what's changed from when you started, how it's coming back, how it's changing?
Absolutely, and part of this conversation I'm not proud of. When we moved here in 1983, just across the wetland here, there was a lek, and it was on native prairie, native trees, and you could hear the whole ritual they go through, and once in a while I'd even see it.
Can I just stop you to, what is a lek?
A lek is basically a breeding ground which is coveted by that species, and I've been told that if you destroy it, I didn't know that at the time, but if you destroy it, there's a good chance they will never ever come back, no matter what you do. Like if you overgraze it, there's a chance they may not come back. If you turn it upside down, they like to have native prairie, so we never saw sharp-tailed grouse on our farm again. Now, we did have rough grouse at the time, but maybe, I don't know, but maybe innocently, some of the native trees I took out, we destroyed habitat for ruffed grouse. So, like you mentioned, 2006, 2012, Glenn had two sightings, or heard ruffed grouse in behind the cabin here. So, last fall, I was after the cattle were gone, we custom grazed cattle after the cattle were gone, I was walking around one of the dugouts, and lots of willows, and a ruffed grouse ran out in front of me, and I was literally in awe, and another one ran out, and I thought, 2, I mean, that breaks all records. So as they flew up behind me in the willows, I could hear more flying, and I am assuming, I looked around quickly, there were somewhere around 4 to 6. So I'm, that's amazing. So we know they're here now, and I'm not sure what's doing it, but maybe we've made some changes, or maybe it took that much time for the farm to come back to where it was more user-friendly for them. I don't know, but it's very rewarding, and what really resonates with me is when I saw that this year is the year of the grouse. Wow, they've come back to celebrate with us.
Yes, and you do have another story from last night. You had a visitor, and if you could talk about your visitor that you and your grouse experience from last night.
Yes, a good friend of us and our farm, Joe Hartung, who's been taking photography here now, pictures for about 2 years. He came out last night, and I was out here cutting grass, so we had a conversation, and as we're chatting, I'm deaf, but Joe said, I just heard a rough grouse thumping. And I thought, Joe, that's fitting, because tomorrow we're having these folks here to talk about the year of the grouse. So I sent an invitation out, but they're not here yet. They may show up later.
Oh, I would love to hear them. Being as from my background, I'm such a novice in this area, so to hear that would be just wonderful for me.
Every year, a firearm takes a family member's life. Always unload and lock your firearms. Store the ammunition separately or lock it up. Help prevent this type of tragedy. For your safety and the safety of those around you, if you have a concern about firearms, please call 1-800-731-4000. A message from the Canada Safety Council.
So being a volunteer with Eastlink TV has allowed me to see what it's like, the technical side and the professional side of how things are done on air. It's a great environment. Everybody here works as a team, and everybody has a certain job to do, and they get it done. And it's very professional and very exciting.
Join the Eastlink TV team. Become a volunteer. Contact us at volunteer.tv@eastlink.ca.
getting back to the Lex and that, do you feel that with the work you've been doing here, do you think there's an eventuality that a Lek could reform here, or do you think,
Well,
what's your thoughts on that?
The challenge is that we're losing so much habitat across the province. And I really don't know. I know Glenn has given presentations on this, and he can probably, I know he can shed more light on this, but I'm really concerned that, and because we destroyed more habitat, I mean, this is riparian is a prime example. It went from about 37% healthy. 11 years later, we finally are 87% healthy. So 11 years is a long time. So for the sharp-tailed grouse to or prairie chickens or any of those grouse, it's really tough to find a place that they can call home. And I mean, that's why we don't have much sage grouse left. In Saskatchewan, the community pastures have sold. They've turned them upside down. And so when you take away the home, they have nowhere to go. And pretty soon, the future doesn't look very good. So I'm hoping, like for us, what's happened to us here is about awareness that came to our farm from specialists like Glenn and others. What the Year of the Grouse is doing, it's going to spread the word about how important these are. And our hope is that people will start to say, I understand this, and there may be a piece of prairie on their property that they could actually leave, and they might get meadowlarks, or maybe they already have them, but if they get rid of it, they're going to lose them. So this is really, really, really important to this whole, to biodiversity. Is this Year of the Grouse. It's a starting point.
And so, obviously, the grouse is important, and so why is the grouse important? You've talked about losing it and the importance of keeping the land, so why is this so important?
Well, Glenn taught me this, that birds have, what do they call that? You know, we know what their value is, what they perform, but he said they have things that we don't even know about. So, okay, nature's here, and if something goes missing, we may not know the value that we've lost.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for sharing this beautiful piece of paradise here. The Razikas have paved one road in creating a sustainable environment for around here, not only for the grouse, but for many other species of animals, the earth and future generations as well. Right now, they're in the process of retiring and are determining a way of how to sell their farm and a way to ensure that their practices of promoting and preserving a healthy landscape with abundant biodiversity are maintained for many generations to come. Thank you so much for joining us here this afternoon. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you.